Hey, can you say something real quick?
Check 1 2.
Okay,
Check 1
cool.
2.
Yeah, you're coming through.
Nice.
What was I going to do? I was going to do something. I don't remember what I was going to do. Dang it. Oh, look, we're up to 9 subs on our YouTube. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Moving on up there. Oh, can't do that. Um, do that. Do that. That. Okay. All right. Are you ready to just hop into it, man?
I am, man. I'm ready to go. I feel prepared. I feel I'm ready.
We're getting started early this week.
Yeah, man.
Getting after it. All right, well, let me press that little
Hustle time.
start recording button. We'll get to it.
All right.
Another week, more craziness. That's just the world we're living in now in the NFL. Welcome back to another episode of Booth Review. As always, I'm your host, Devin Primrose, joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Blake Ivy. What's going on, man?
Man, it's a good week when we get to come on and talk about both of our teams winning. Falcons finally got the bugaboo off their back. Got a win under their belt.
I mean,
Feels
it
good.
helps when you're playing Seattle.
It does. It definitely helps. But also, I just feel like a genius. Like so many things that I said coming into this season, I feel so validated. I talked
Yeah.
about the Bucks getting old. The Bucks look old. I talked about the Rams getting old. The Rams look old. I talked about the Raiders being actually terrible at football,
Yeah.
and you and Peter laughed at me. I just want to remind everyone that I was ridiculed and laughed at because of my take. That was correct.
Listen, people can go back and listen to the previous episodes if they care to, all right?
I understand, but I also just need everybody to know that for the record, I had the Raiders missing the playoffs and I think winning like 6 games, and you guys were like, "You're an idiot." And I was like, "Okay, let's see." So,
I mean,
now who's the idiot?
it's only been 3 weeks. Let's not go crazy. But I did post in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, hop into the Discord. A lot of fun stuff goes down over there. I'm gonna keep plugging it until we just get a million
Yeah,
people in there. But
absolutely.
I did post in there. I am officially out on the Raiders. I think we all know what kind of head coach you're getting in Josh McDaniels at this
Yep.
point. Second try, it's been no better than the first time around. And I would argue even worse because he has more talent to work with, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess like I don't know. I haven't bought into the talent of this Raiders team. I don't know that it's necessarily a coaching issue as much as it is this is just not a great football team.
I
So,
mean, it could be a mixture of the two for sure. I'm not going to disagree with that. But I don't know. There's a lot of at least on the offensive side of the ball, I feel like there's a lot of promise that has not been met. Like Derek Carr's not a bum quarterback. He is, I'll say, an inconsistent quarterback. He's been up and down most of his career, but you have a guy like Devontae Adams, which maybe uh, a lot of his talent came from playing with one of the best quarterbacks ever to ever play.
Yeah.
And then you've got a guy like Josh Jacobs back there who's a solid running back, Darren Waller at tight end. Like there's a lot to like on that offense, and it has
Yeah.
not lived up to the hype through 3 weeks. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on out there.
They're not good. That's what's going on. It's pretty easy to see. I saw it before the season, and you guys laughed at me, and here I sit laughing at you both. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Well,
So anyway,
again,
I know you had your you didn't get to watch much football this weekend. You were
yeah,
at your at old Furnace Fest.
I was gonna say again, did not get to catch much football this week. I did. Luckily, the schedule worked out to where Sunday, the third day of the festival, last day of the festival, all the bands I wanted to see were done by like 4:30. I think it was about 4:30 Alabama time, which is an hour back from Eastern.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so by 5:30 our time, I was done for the day. I was at across the street at the brewery watching the rest of the Packers game. And then
Nice.
we went home and I got to catch the snooze fest that was Sunday Night Football. Um,
Oof.
but yeah, our weekend was great. It started off incredibly rough around 1 p.m. on Thursday, which is when we were supposed to be leaving. I got a phone call saying that our hotel reservation had gotten canceled, which
Yikes.
was garbage. A reservation that I had for 3 months. So
Ooh.
we had to scramble to find accommodation, but we found somewhere. It was about a 45-minute drive outside the city, so that was the only downside. But we did
Yeah.
find somewhere for roughly the same price. We got it all worked out, and yeah, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. Um,
Who was your favorite band of the weekend?
oh man,
Who give us your best of the booth and under review from Furnace Fest. That's what I want.
oh, don't do me like that.
I gotta
Okay,
put you on the spot.
all right. So I'll say this. So the nostalgia act for me, which for those that don't know about Furnace Fest, it's mostly I would say an alternative music festival. It's mostly heavy music, but then it's got like some emo and pop punk stuff like that. And the appeal of Furnace Fest is that it does bring a lot of older bands back, bands that might have broken up, bands that were big 15 years ago, whatever like that. And so the nostalgia act for me was Close Your Eyes, and that's because I never thought I'd be able to see them again. They broke up right about 10 years ago, and that was a very fun one to catch. But the best of the booth has to go to Kubla Khan, which is a like deathcore band. So if you're into that, check them out. They're very good. They were a lot of fun. My under review. Oh man, under review.
Who let you down?
Who did let me down? Um, that's a really good question. I haven't thought about that. Last year I had an easy one. That I would have said last year. This year, I'll say maybe Belmont. Belmont's a newer pop punk type band, and a lot of their stuff is really good, but they were not good live. I didn't
Mm.
even really watch them. I was kind of listening to them from afar. But their guitar player, I don't know if he was having a rough day, but he was not playing clean. He was not even on time. I mean, it was kind of a mess. But I know a lot of fans enjoyed them. They had a lot of fun. So good for those fans. But as a somewhat impartial Belmont fan, it was not great.
You're under review, Belmont.
Under review.
I forgot about that. We got to bring back the you're under review. We gotta. I forgot that was last year, man. We got to bring it back.
So speaking of best of the booth and under review, let's get into some NFL.
Let's
Who
do
do
it.
you got for best of the booth this week?
Best of the booth. Listen, okay, so this one's gonna be a little bit of a journey. I'm gonna throw a lot of numbers at you guys. So get your pens and papers ready. Even though we're not a math podcast, I'm gonna be throwing a lot of numbers. My best of the booth is gonna go to the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel.
Coach of the year.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, that's what I said. I actually have written down here, Coach of the Year, Mike McDaniel. Like that's he. It's unreal. It
Yeah.
and it's times like this that you have to give credit to the coach when you look at these numbers. Okay, I'm just gonna throw some numbers out at you. Total plays. The Bills had 90 total plays. The Dolphins had 39. 90 to 39. Total yards, the Bills had 497, so let's just call it 500 for the fun of it.
Right.
And the Dolphins had 212. So
Wow.
basically 200 to 500 total yards. Um, what's crazy is that they had the same number of total drives. The Bills had 9, the Dolphins had 8. So I know that's not literally the same number, but it's like
Yeah.
that's crazy that they had, but the Bills had 18 third downs where the Dolphins had 8. So, I mean, it's just crazy that the Dolphins were able to do what they were able to do. Here's what's crazy. The Dolphins only had 41 rushing yards. 41 rushing yards, 171 passing yards. I mean, time of possession, the Bills had the ball for 40 minutes and the Dolphins had it for under 20. And
Wow.
somehow, like, you look at these stats and you would, if nobody showed you the score and you saw this, you'd be like, oh man, the Bills must have absolutely destroyed Miami. But that's
Yeah.
not what happened. And there was only one turnover. That's what's crazy too, is like, again, you look at the numbers and you think, oh man, the Bills must have turned the ball over a lot. No, there was one turnover. So the Dolphins just had it figured out. Tua had a really efficient game. He didn't put up gaudy numbers or anything, but he had a really efficient game. I think he went 13 of 18, something like that for a touchdown. And so it wasn't, again, like, wasn't crazy numbers, but he was just efficient. And so I think in games like this where the numbers are so lopsided in favor of the Bills, you've got to put credit somewhere. And to me, it's just got to be Mike McDaniel. Like, he just had it figured out. He was able to control the game and come out with a win. I know that there was some questionable decisions there at the end, but um, I mean, the Dolphins won. The Dolphins beat the
Yeah.
best team in football. And
Yeah.
you and I, we talked about it, and we both kind of said it's not out of the question that Miami wins this game. But I don't think either one of us would have put money on it.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, props to Mike McDaniel, best of the booth. You got the win for your team against the best team in football, as we all thought. And now I guess you guys get to hold on to that title for a while. So
Did you
we'll say Miami Dolphins, the best team in the NFL.
did you get to watch any of that game by chance?
I watched it on so a couple things. I watched both in Red Zone. I was watching
Yeah.
on Red Zone,
Yeah.
and then I went back and NFL's YouTube channel has a great um Baldy does breakdowns
Okay.
of why teams won the game, and that's really helpful to kind of
Right.
look at. And so I did watch some of that. So what did you have? Were you wondering what happened?
Yeah, kind of, because like it seems just based off of stats that Buffalo was able to move the ball pretty well, but they only ended up scoring 19 points. So I'm wondering what exactly happened there. I mean, when you have a quarterback passing for 400 yards, what are you doing only scoring 19 points?
Yeah. Yeah, I really just think that the Dolphins, their defense lends so much to stopping you in the red zone,
Yeah.
um, because they do put a lot of just dropping four back and letting them play man coverage or kind of deep zone
Right.
with the safeties and blitzing heavily, and so that lends itself more to red zone defense. Um, but yeah, I mean, sorry here. Let's look at, yeah. So red zone. The Bills had 4 trips to the red zone and only came out scoring twice. And
Wow.
then the Dolphins had 3 red zone trips and capitalized all 3 times. So, um, and now I know, and what's crazy is that, I mentioned that fumble that Josh Allen lost.
Right.
That was like on about the Bills' own 10. So
Mm,
so that takes
yeah,
out some
that
of the yards for the Dolphins because they
yeah,
didn't have to get that
absolutely.
many yards to get into position. But um, I mean, it's still just crazy that they were able to do it.
Yeah, and I just saw that the Bills kicker also missed a field goal, so that you make that, you win the game by 1 point. Um,
Yeah.
in theory, depending on. I mean, obviously, when stuff like that happens, it could go any way. But
Right.
that's 3 points that were left out there on the field. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, hats off to the Dolphins. Dolphins have looked great. I am very intrigued by the next matchup we get between the Bills and the Dolphins on Buffalo. That'll be a fun one. And I think the Dolphins have a good one this week. Good, yeah. Well, they get the Bengals on Thursday, which the Bengals. I mean, they're still the reigning AFC champ, but they have not looked like it through 3 games. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, that's a solid best of the booth. Tua looks like, I mean, he's looking like a solid quarterback for them.
He really is, man.
Solid quarterback. Well, for my best of the booth, I had to give it to your boy Cordero Patterson.
Oh, some love for the A-Town.
Some love for A-Town. I mean, they got their first win this week, and I think Senior Patterson had a lot to do with that. The man had 17 carries for 141 yards. That's 8.3 yards per carry on average. He also had a touchdown to go with that. Absolutely had to go with this key piece on a frisky and fun Atlanta offense. This was one of the best rushing performances of the weekend from, honestly, one of the better running backs in the league. Cordero has been getting it done for Atlanta all season, and really even going back to last year. We talked about him a lot last year, really kind of coming into his own, and it looks like he hasn't missed his groove at all. I mean, he's just gotten right back into last year's stride. He looks like a top 5 back in the league, at least a top 10, and the numbers back it up. On the season, he has 302 yards and is averaging 6.2 yards per carry, which is good for 3rd and 5th in the league, respectively. He's been an absolute stud for Atlanta, and like I said, that offense is fun. It's fun to watch. I think this team has potential to make some noise this year. They're 5 points from being 3-0, which is crazy. And so I think, and that's against two of the better teams, and the Rams, and well, the Saints are kind of still out there, but
again, I also said they were bad.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to you, Senior Patterson. You had a great game. Hats off to you too for saying the Saints would be bad, because they have been.
I just sent you a link in Discord. I want you to watch it and react here on the podcast, because this is one of CP's runs from this last week. Okay. And I just want to remind you that this guy is 31 years old, and this is really only his second year being a every down running back. So this is one of the plays from the game against Seattle this past Sunday. And it was my favorite. Loved it.
Well, I got good old YouTube ads, so
that's good. Yeah. I'll just keep talking about how great Cordero Patterson is.
What if
31-year-old Cordero Patterson leads the league in rushing this year? I would love that. Yeah.
Hurdle and then a truck at the end. Wow.
Hurdle and a truck on the same run. Picked up, what was that, like 15, 17 yards? I mean, just like, and it's like, that's not what you expect from that guy. Because when you think of Cordero Patterson, you think of tall, more of a receiver type back, but that dude is running like Derrick Henry. Like,
dude is practically our age, and I don't know about you, but I don't know if I could lace him up and hurdle a guy right now.
No, I would struggle to. I actually, one of my buddies, he still laughs about it if he hears me tell the story. But I was doing something at this school where a church that I was at, we met at the school, and they had their hurdles set up. Yeah. And I was running, and I just busted it. Like, I couldn't even hurdle one hurdle. Now, granted, I was in skinny jeans, but like, I couldn't even hurdle a single hurdle, much less a grown NFL player. Right, so Cordero Patterson, absolute monster. I love watching him. It's just incredibly entertaining, and yeah. So I almost had him as my best of the booth. I just felt like it was a little homer pick. So I'm glad you gave him a shout out. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking back at the stats from everybody, and there was a lot of, like, I considered Jalen Hurts. I don't remember who the other. There was somebody else I
Honorable mention
considered.
to the Jags defense
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's unbelievable what they did Sunday.
Well,
Fantastic
I'm
performance.
I'm actually glad you brought up that game because
Well, thank you.
that segues into my under review quite nicely.
Boom, boom. There you go.
My under review this week is the Chargers defense.
Oh yeah,
And that's
that's a good one.
they had 0 sacks, they had 0 turnovers, they had only 5 tackles for a loss, and 4 passes defended. Now, I know this one might be slightly unfair. LA started the day without JC Jackson, and then they lost their top playmaker, Joey Bosa, in the first quarter. But they still had Derwin James. They still had Asante Samuel Jr. They still had Kyle Van Noy. They still had Khalil Mack. Like, this is a defense that shouldn't be giving up 38 points. Especially to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, maybe this is a different Jags team. Through the first 3 weeks, I'd say so. It looks like the offense is rolling. Doug Peterson has looked like he's kind of turned that team around. Trevor Lawrence looks like a solid quarterback. They've got a nice run game going with James Robinson and Travis Etienne. But still, this was a lackluster defensive performance in a week where that offense is so banged up between Justin Herbert, I believe Keenan Allen missed the week again. I just saw that they lost Jalen Guyton. Like, this is an offense that needs
two starting offensive linemen. That's honestly that was why I didn't make the Jags the best of the booth, is because it kind of is like, the Jags, I do think, have a more talented defense than a lot of us expected coming into this year. Because Josh Allen was good in that one game against Buffalo last year, but I don't think many of us thought like, oh man, he's going to be a force. But he's been really good all season.
Yeah.
And you pair that with Trayvon Walker on the other side of the ball, and on the other side of the end.
Yeah.
And it's just been a nightmare for teams. And so, yeah, the Jaguars defense looks pretty good, but the Chargers offense they were banged up.
Well, and that's my whole point, is like, this defense can't afford to have performances like this when you're as stacked with playmakers as you are. You can't afford to have performances like this when your offense needs all the help it can get. Like, weeks like this when your offense is banged up is when you have to rely on your defense to go out there and get stops, and they could not do that against what I think a lot of us thought was a maybe mediocre to slightly above average Jags offense at best. So, I just think that I expected more from the Chargers defense, and I think that they did not do nearly enough.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that even with the Jags, we said that going into this game, even with the Chargers, if they had started, what's his name? Chase Daniel. I still liked the idea of the Chargers because of that Chargers defense. And that Chargers defense, and you never know how much it is them just being tired from being out there the entire game. That they just, were they just completely exhausted. I haven't looked at the stats from that game to see if they were just completely dominated in time of possession or not. But, you would imagine that with how lopsided that game seemed, that it was, they just got exhausted.
Honestly, though, it's not just been this game. They're giving up 28 points a game on the season through 3 games. That's 4th in the league. That's tied with the Titans. The only 2 teams that have been worse have been the Arizona Cardinals and the Detroit Lions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what I expected from this defense.
Right.
This is a defense that really should be the best defense in football, period. So,
absolutely.
I think that, comes down to the question of coaching. Is who, what, why? Why is this defense so bad?
Yeah, I don't know. But they've got to figure it out, because the offense needs the help right now. Because they got to get healthy, and the defense is going to have to pick them up some.
You're under review, Chargers defense.
Under review!
Um,
Who
under
you
review
got?
for me is going to be an interesting one. Because I don't have necessarily any particular group or player. I just have all of the primetime games. Just the idea of primetime games this week. They
Fair.
were terrible.
Well,
They were like,
the Steelers Browns game wasn't awful on Thursday night.
yeah, sure. If you want to watch Mitch Trubisky and Jacoby Brissett duel it out,
That's
which I
fair.
don't think most people want to sign up for that, but you're right. Like outside of just a lack of name recognition, that was a pretty good game. Like
Right.
it was pretty entertaining. At least the defense on both of those was good. But the Sunday night game, which I have really high hopes for both of those teams, the 49ers and the Broncos, it was just boring.
It was a
It was
mess.
it
The
was
mess.
boring. Same thing with the Monday night game. I said, now you did say that going into the game. You're like, I don't know why anybody would watch this game, and I was like, I kind of want to see why the Giants have won games. I don't know. I watched that game and I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea how the Giants have won 2 games coming into this week. Um, so yeah, I still don't know. I still can't tell you.
Yeah.
Can't give you any kind of insight on why the Giants were 2-0 coming into this week. Um, but I can tell you that the Cowboys look good against the Giants, which is
Yeah.
like, I guess, something. Like,
Yeah.
way to go, Cooper Rush! You beat the Giants, I guess. But man, both like I normally will watch those games, both of the primetime games. Um, Usually the way those go down is Maddie and I are watching something on TV, and she falls asleep, and I'm watching on my iPad,
Yeah.
and um, and I will watch until the game is out of hand um or completely over. And both of these games I ended up turning off because it was like,
Yeah.
this is like, I'm tired. I have 2 kids that have not been sleeping the last 2 nights, so I would rather sleep than watch this, you know, which I didn't expect to feel. So primetime games, you're under review. Get it
Yeah.
together. Get it together. Figure out what you're doing.
I mean,
Terrible.
luckily, I do think the primetime games in Week 4 are a little bit better. But yeah,
Yeah, it should be. Hopefully.
I'm with you. Like I said, the Steelers and Browns game, was it fantastic? No. Thursday night games have historically been kind of lackluster. And this is another okay game. It wasn't anything special, but it wasn't a terrible game either. But yeah, Sunday night's game. I genuinely do not know what to make of this Denver Broncos team and why
Yeah,
Russell Wilson looks so inept at quarterback.
awful.
He
I
looks terrible.
the only thing I can think of is what you said is the head coach is just that terrible. Is truly, or
Yes.
the OC. Is it the OC or the
No,
head
it's the
coach?
head coach.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Hackett. That's who it is.
Yep.
Nathaniel Hackett is just terrible
Yeah. And
because,
then on the other side, you had Jimmy G step out of the back of the end zone.
oh man, that was so
You had
sad.
Garoppolo have zero awareness of where he was at on the field and step out of the back of the end zone.
Did you
What are
see
you
Dan
doing?
Orlovsky? He tweeted and said, "I have this is the best moment of my life,"
Yeah, yeah,
because he's not the only one.
yeah,
And he's not the most recent one. I'm sure I know that he was trending on Twitter because he's the only other quarterback to ever just run backwards out of the back of the end zone for no reason. But yeah, that was pretty bad. That's one of those Jimmy G moments where, like, it's like, come on, man, what are you doing? You're an
right.
NFL QB. Pay
And
attention.
like you're a good quarterback at that.
Yes.
Like you are a talented quarterback. What are
Yeah.
you doing stepping out of the back of the end zone? It's just a messy, like not good game. I don't even
Yeah.
want to give credit to either of those defenses. While I think that both those defenses are good, those offenses were just so terrible. They were just
Yeah.
bad.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was rough. It was rough.
It's hard to watch. It's hard. I mean, any game that ends, what was it, 11-10?
11-10.
What?
That's a like high scoring baseball game score.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's a weird, it's unsettling to look
was
at.
sitting there. It was 10-5 for the longest time, and I was thinking about posting in the Discord that we got a baseball game going on in Denver tonight.
Yeah. Ugh. Russell Wilson probably would be playing better if it were baseball.
All right, so what we got for legit or counterfeit this week?
All right, legit or counterfeit? I even changed it halfway through because you mentioned another team. I was just going to make you legit or counterfeit the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh.
But instead, I'm going to make you mark one of these teams legit, and you have to mark the other one counterfeit.
Oh
So
boy.
of these two teams,
Okay.
which one is legit? Which one is counterfeit? Your two teams are the Jaguars and the Lions. Which one's
Hmm.
legit? Which one's a counterfeit?
Hmm.
These are two teams that we've seen make significant jumps from last year. And so, of these two improving teams, which one do you think is a counterfeit and which one is legitimately making a huge step forward and could be a contender?
All right. So I'm looking at their schedules, comparing their schedules.
Okay, listen, you're being too
They have
statistical about this.
so here's the interesting thing. They have one common opponent. Through 3 games, they already have one common opponent.
Okay.
One of these teams has beat that common opponent. The other team lost. So almost going purely off that. I'm saying that the Detroit Lions are legit and the
Okay.
Jacksonville Jaguars are counterfeit, which part of me doesn't really want to do because that stat of Detroit having given up the most points through 3 games,
Yeah.
um,
That's
they're
concerning.
giving up 31 points a game, which is very concerning. I do like the offense. I don't think the offense can keep up with the other team scoring 31 points. But the Lions have lost to the Philadelphia Eagles by 3 points, who
Yep. Or maybe the best team in
maybe the
football.
best team in football. I mean, we would have said that about the Bills, but the Eagles have been right there with the Bills. Uh,
Yeah.
and the Eagles are sitting on 3-0 right now. They lost to the Eagles in week 1 by 3 points. They lost to the Vikings on Sunday by 4 points. And that's a game that I think some of their old tendencies kind of showed. They were up 10 points
Yep.
going into the fourth quarter. They should have won that game. I think they just kind of uh, lines it up. I don't know how
Yep.
else to phrase it besides that. Um,
Detroit gonna Detroit.
the Jaguars, Detroit's one win came over the Commanders, 36-27 win.
Yeah.
Um, the Jaguars lost to the Commanders in week 1. They then played the Colts, who we have both said we don't know what's going on with that Colts team. Frank Reich might be one of the worst head coaches in the league. I think that could maybe explain that win a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they just beat the Chargers, who we mentioned as being banged up. The offense is hurt bad. So maybe that can explain that. I hate having to say one is legit and one's
Right,
counterfeit
right.
because
Obviously, obviously, I'm forcing you into a corner with
I do
this.
think this Jags team is fun and is fun to watch and fun to root for and is probably legit. I think they're going to make a run at the AFC South because someone's got to win it, and there's no team that looks like a clear cut winner in that division.
Yeah, that
But
was honestly that was my original legit or counterfeit was the Jags are going to win the division, which I
yeah,
think we probably both would have said legit.
I mm, I, ugh. I still don't want to give up on the Colts, but yeah, I probably would have said that.
So here's where I sit. I'm gonna flip on you. I'm gonna go. I think the Jags are legit, and the Lions are the counterfeit. And here's why: is I think that both teams have made significant improvements, but the
Yeah,
Lions' improvement really only looks like it's on one side of the ball.
that's
Um,
fair.
Defensively, the Lions got absolutely destroyed this weekend.
Yeah,
Just demolished. Their defensive line was awful. Couldn't get pressure. Just bad. And so I just, yeah, I think that the Lions. Now, I do think that the Lions have one of the best offenses in the league, pending Amon-Ra St. Brown's injury.
right.
Godspeed on the injury. I hope that he is not seriously hurt, and from what I've heard, he should be back soon. But um, yeah, I like the Jags defense a whole lot. I like the combination
Yeah,
of Josh Allen on one end and Trayvon Walker on the other end, just wreaking havoc on offensive lines. I think that this defense is better than a lot of people expected. Um, and then I like Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is in Doug Peterson's offense able to grow as a quarterback where he was not able to under Urban Meyer. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Doug Peterson is able to kind of help and groom and grow him and work with what he already has instead of like just throwing him out there. And so I also really like the Christian Kirk signing. I think that looks like one of the better signings of the offseason, especially considering how everyone overreacted to it out the gate. They thought, what an idiot. Like
yeah,
this guy's terrible, and he's looked really solid. Um, so I don't know. And Evan Ingram is having a little bit of a revitalization there, which is great. So I don't know. I like the Jags. I think that the Jags that's why I am higher on them is over the last two games, although yes, the Chargers offensive line was really bad banged up. They're this has been 2 weeks in a row where the Jags have caused problems for the opposing QB. And if you
yeah.
can consistently do that, and if that's what's going to be their strength as a defense, that's going to carry them a long way.
Fair, fair. Yeah. Um, it's tough, man. Like I said, I don't like having to choose between the two because
Right.
I think both are heading in the right direction. I think
Yeah.
that both have definitely figured out their head coach. Um, it might be a little too early to say that for both of them, but I really like Dan Campbell, Doug Pearson. What he's done in Jacksonville through 3 games has been amazing. I think that we'll get a really good idea this week of where that Jaguars team is because they play Philly in Philly, and that's going to be a big test. Which fun storyline to watch here. That's Doug Pearson's return to Philly, which
Ooh, yeah.
where he won a Super Bowl with them. I think that'll be a very fun game to pay attention to, and I think we'll know what the Detroit Lions are by week 6 when they play um, the Dallas Cowboys. Might be week 7 actually because they have a bye week in there. But week
Yeah.
7 they play the Cowboys and the Cowboys have a legit offense, a legit defense, and the Lions have, like you said, one of the better offenses. So that'll be a fun matchup to see in the
Yeah.
coming weeks. So I think that we'll get a good idea within the next couple weeks as to where exactly these two teams sit. But like I said, I hate having to pick one of them. And
Yeah.
you really put me in a tough spot there. I wasn't
Good.
expecting that one.
Good. Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm here for. I'm all the hypotheticals. I'm the deep questions. That's me for legit or counterfeit. Legit or counterfeit needs its own. Needs something. Needs
It
something.
does need something.
Some chutzpah.
I'm gonna put that on you. Seeing how you
That's
come up
fair.
with all the music and whatnot. Um,
I'm the musical genius of.
speaking of your musical genius, I say we move on from week 3 and move over to week 4, and let's get picky with it.
No, getting picky with it. No, getting picky with it. No, getting picky with it. Bow.
Starting us off on Thursday night, we have the 3-0 Miami Dolphins coming off a big win over the Buffalo Bills, heading out to Cincinnati to take on the AFC reigning champ Cincinnati Bengals. Currently, very weirdly, might I add, Vegas has made Cincy 4-point favorites, which is incredibly
That is
disrespectful.
very weird.
Incredibly disrespectful to Miami, in my opinion. I don't agree with
Yup.
that. I think Miami is going to put up at least put up a fight, if not blow out the Bengals. But I ask you, good sir, who you got, man?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the Dolphins. I think that the Dolphins. I feel bad for Joe Burrow in this game. This is gonna be really hard. Like he's gonna be running for his life. Maybe as soon as he gets off the bus. Well, I guess he's not gonna take a bus because it's at his home stadium. As soon as he steps out of the locker room, he's gonna be running for his life. Um, because yeah, it's just this Dolphins team loves to pressure the QB, and I think that they're going to be licking their chops looking at that Bengals porous offensive line. I think that's probably the best word to describe it. Absorbent and yellow and porous is the Bengals offensive line. So they just The osmosis
I mean,
of the Bengals offensive line.
I think you could put SpongeBob out there and they would they would block better
He
for Joe
probably
Burrow.
would. He probably would.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
I've also got the Dolphins win this one. I could see this one being close and being fun, but I could also see it being a blowout in favor of Miami. I think Miami's offense is going to be very difficult for a lot of teams to slow down,
yeah,
especially when it's all clicking. I think we saw that in the game against Baltimore in that fourth quarter where that offense really came alive. When everything's clicking, that offense is tough to beat. When you have
yeah,
Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you got to worry about it's not easy for a lot of teams, and I think they're gonna come away with a fairly easy victory against this Cincinnati team.
for sure. Absolutely.
So let's move over to Sunday. Sunday we got some early morning football. It's the start of the first London game of the year. We got
Oh,
9:30 a.m. football over on NFL Network. The Minnesota Vikings 2-1 coming off that come from behind victory against the Lions facing the New Orleans Saints. The lackluster New Orleans Saints. Currently, Minnesota are 2.5-point favorites. That's probably fair.
yeah.
I definitely think that the Vikings should be favored. But who you got, man?
Yeah, I've got the Vikings in this one. I again, as I said in our preview show for the year, I have a hard time picking the Saints at all.
Yeah.
I think that the Saints are really bad at football in literally every aspect of it. And then they've got injuries from their two best receivers were out with injury this past Sunday, and they're starting to feel it. So yeah, it's like what's his name? Michael Thomas, he calls himself can't guard Mike, but
Yeah.
it's more like can't play Mike. Like the dude just never you can't guard him if he's not on the field. Um, so yeah, I think that the Saints, there's nothing about this team that scares me. So give me the Vikings in this one. I don't care if it's in New Orleans. The Vikings are the better football team.
Yeah, I also went with Minnesota. I think Minnesota I don't know what happened to them in week 2. I mean, I guess they ran into a what looks like a juggernaut of a team in the Philadelphia Eagles,
Oh yeah,
but
that's what happened too.
that team looks, at least against the Packers and the Lions, they've looked like a solid team. Um, I think that I just think that offense is very similar to the Dolphins. When everything's clicking, that's a scary offense to face because again, if you can guard Justin Jefferson, well then you got to worry about Adam Thielen. If you can guard both of them, well then you got to worry about Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. Like this team has
Hmm.
so much talent on the offensive side, and the defense isn't like they're not no scrubs either over there on the defensive side.
Right.
So I like this Vikings team. I think they're going to have a really good season, and I've got them winning over the Saints over in London on Sunday.
Yeah, with you. I guess it's not in New Orleans. I said it. I don't care if it's in New Orleans. And maybe I just meant in general. Like they
Yeah,
could play in New Orleans,
I
still a
mean,
loss.
technically, New Orleans is the home team, but it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
absolutely. Which is weird that it. I mean, yeah, I guess it is a neutral site game. So they've
Yeah.
got the Vikings as the better team
Yep.
outright.
Yep. So let's move on to what could potentially be one of the spiciest games of the weekend. 1 o'clock over on CBS. We have the Buffalo Bills heading down to Baltimore to face the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams sitting at 2-1. Currently, Buffalo are 3-point favorites. I think that's fair. I think Buffalo is the more talented team. But that over-under is set at 51.5, and that is, I think that's going to get blown out with these two offenses. But who you got, man?
Um, I'm actually I'm actually gonna change it. I just changed it on my picks. I think that the Micah Hyde's the safety guy injured, right? Poyer's still there.
Yes.
Micah Hyde's out.
I think
I think
I think
that
Porter
is
got
a
injured too.
oh my goodness, not both of them.
I'm not. I'm
I know
not.
that the
I don't
Bills.
want to say for sure. I'm gonna look it up. Keep talking.
All right, I know that the Bills had a couple injuries on Sunday, and that's why I'm a little hesitant to call the Dolphins the best team in the league because I think that the Bills weren't at 100%. But I mean, if you want to be the best team in the league, go win your game, regardless of injuries. Um, so I'm actually gonna go with the Ravens. I think this is a sneaky upset. Um, I think that the Ravens, Lamar Jackson was almost my best of the booth, but it was really more for the entire season. Right now, Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson leads the league in quarterback rating, and he's fifth in the league in rushing. Lamar
yeah,
Jackson is having a MVP. If Jalen Hurts weren't playing so well, everybody would be talking about Lamar Jackson. But because Jalen Hurts is being also ridiculous, everybody's talking about Jalen Hurts.
right.
So I I think that Lamar is being absolutely playing out of his mind right now. So I think that without their defense being at full strength, they're going to have some difficulties containing Lamar and keeping that offense at bay. So that's why I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, injury update: Jordan Poyer is questionable. Micah Hyde is on IR,
Yep.
and Ed Oliver, their stud defensive tackle, is also questionable. So
Yeah.
that defense is banged up. Um, yeah, I have not picked a winner for this game yet.
Yeah.
I wrote it down and I didn't know initially. I wanted to go Ravens because, like you said, the defense being banged up. I think that swings it a little bit more into the Ravens' favor, just because of how good that offense has been playing. Um, I also really like the Bills' offense, though, man, and that's why I think this could turn into an offensive shootout. Is because I don't love the Ravens' defense. I don't think they've been terrible this year, but I don't love them. And the Bills' defense is banged up. So I think both offenses are going to have plenty of opportunity to shine. And like you said, Lamar's looking like an MVP. I think Josh Allen is definitely right there in MVP talks as well with the way he's played throughout the season.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a fun offensive game to follow. I just don't know which offense I like more.
Yeah.
um, Part of me wants to go Bills just so we have a game that we differ on. But
We've still got time on it. We've still got time.
I'm gonna go Bills. I'm gonna go Buffalo. Even though
Okay.
it's tough, man. I do like this Ravens offense, and I love Harbaugh as a head coach. I think Harbaugh can find a way to win in any situation. Um, man, I'm gonna go Bills. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm going Bills.
Oh.
Going Bills.
Um sorry.
Yeah, Lamar
Um
Lamar's playing to get that money. He's playing to get
yeah.
that money.
He bet on himself, and barring injury, he looks like he's going to win.
He's
Like
absolutely going to.
that's crazy. Uh yeah, I think he wanted Deshaun money, and everybody was like, "You're crazy. Nobody's giving Deshaun money after what happened with Deshaun."
He does.
And
That's
so
that's that's literally because he turned down. I think he turned down like a $250 million contract.
I thought he
Um,
turned down a contract that was close to Kyler. I thought they hadn't even offered him Kyler Murray money yet. I don't remember.
Interesting.
I'm not in the
Interesting. I
meetings.
mean,
So,
I mean the way it is, and we said this after that Deshaun contract was that every quarterback's going to want that contract now. Every
yeah.
single quarterback is going to put their team in a position to where the team's going to have to pay them, or they're moving on to another franchise. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Lamar because I don't know if the Ravens are going to be so willing to dish out that money, which means he could end up playing somewhere else. But I don't know. I mean, that's
Oh,
that's that's such a
they're
tough
gonna franchise
it's
tag him.
such a tough
If they're
spot
not
to
gonna
be.
pay him, they're gonna franchise tag him. There's no way that are gonna they're not gonna let him walk.
I mean, the
Um,
tag's going to be huge though. Like it's not.
yeah, but the tag's not gonna be close to what it would be because it's just 1 year. Like you don't have to pay him. You don't have to guarantee 5 years worth of salary or whatever. So you're just on the hook for 1 year. Um,
So you're telling me they're gonna do the Washington method and franchise him for the next 2 years and then let him leave?
I don't think I thought you couldn't franchise for 2 years in a row.
You
I thought
might,
you could only
yo, you
franchise.
might, you might not be able to anymore. I don't
But
know what the for two guys that have a podcast about the NFL, we should probably know what's in the newest
listen,
CBA.
I'm not playing in the NFL. I don't need to know what's in the newest CBA. Let somebody else figure that out. I know what I know, and I'm gonna stick with that. Um, but
I
anyway,
remember Washington doing that with Kirk Cousins, where he got tagged 2 years in a row, and then they said, "All right, we're done with you. Move on." He went to Minnesota, and has looked solid for Minnesota. So I just it's a very interesting situation that Lamar has gotten himself into there,
yeah,
and good on him for betting on himself because
yeah,
he looks
worth it.
legit right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Well, let's move on to your Dirty Birds, man. They got
Yeah,
they got the,
man.
they got the Cleveland Browns coming into town. The 2-1 Cleveland Browns. Jacoby Brissett has looked solid for them at the quarterback position, while Deshaun is off sitting at home, making I guess some sort of guaranteed money. I don't know how his contract works, but
Yeah,
Cleveland heading down to Atlanta to face the Dirty Birds. Currently on the road, Cleveland are 1.5 point favorites.
which is
Um,
nicer than I would have expected.
it
I
is
think that
nicer.
that I think that that line has gone down since Miles Garrett got in his car accident. I think that line was higher earlier this week.
I was gonna
Um,
say that's the big question mark is will Miles Garrett play?
yeah,
If he doesn't, then obviously that helps Atlanta. If he does, Mariota might be running for his life out there.
yeah.
But who you got, man?
Well, first off, I never, even though I'm a Falcons fan, I never root for injuries. So,
Right,
I hope that Miles Garrett is okay. He is one of the best pass rushers in the league, and
but
so
but
hopefully he's.
but you hope he doesn't play on Sunday.
Yeah, I hope that like he, what I really want him to do. I hope that he's good, but like just kind of needs a little like even if he just needs a
Right,
little
right, yeah,
mental
yeah.
day, to just kind of take the day off.
Take
Which I
take
mean,
take it easy, Miles. Don't
playing
rush it back.
playing against the Falcons is almost a mental day off for most defenses. But yeah, I don't listen. I'm gonna confidently say that I think Atlanta absolutely can win this game. But I don't think they're going to. And honestly, here's why. Is even outside of the Miles Garrett um, issue, I looked into these two teams. What is the strength of both of these teams?
Well, for Cleveland, it's the run and their defense. I think.
Yep,
For the Falcons, mm, I guess I would say it's the run game.
it is.
Yeah,
Atlanta is actually, I think they're second in the league in rushing. Atlanta's
yeah.
rushing attack is unbelievable. So both of these teams have great rushing defense, but great rushing offense, but the Browns rushing defense is like top 5 in the league, where the
Mm,
Falcons is like middle of the road. So when you're looking at two teams that all they want to do is run the ball, to me the question is, well, which one's better at stopping the run? And honestly, I know the Falcons can stretch the field because of the talent of guys like Kyle Pitts, Drake London,
right.
even Cordell Patterson that you can chuck the ball to. But I they still have Marcus Mariota back there who can't consistently do that. You're not really afraid of Marcus Mariota throwing the ball. Um, so I don't know. I think the Browns are the better team. Jacoby Brissett to me looks like he should be a starting quarterback somewhere. Um, I don't know if that's just because they were playing the Jets, but I mean they played the Steelers. Like the Steelers defense is really good,
Yeah,
even without or TJ Watt. I think the Steelers defense is really solid. So I think Jacoby Brissett should be pushing to start somewhere.
yeah,
But I think that the Browns are the better team, even if Miles doesn't play. Uh,
yeah.
but hear it here first. I'm not brave enough to pick my dirty birds, but I absolutely do think they can win this game.
Yeah, Brissett is playing with a lot of passion out there.
Yeah,
I I think Thursday night was the most I've gotten to see of the Cleveland Browns, and that dude, he's having he's just having fun out there. Like he's having fun and has
yeah,
that passion for the game that you just love to see from players.
yeah.
Um, And so, yeah, I've also got the Browns. I like the Falcons. We've said it before. We're both pretty high on this Falcons team. But yeah, I'm with you. The Browns are the better team. The Browns should win.
Yeah,
Even
just
without
a bad matchup to me, really.
even without Miles Garrett, that team is still uh, definitely more talented than Atlanta
Yeah,
currently.
yeah.
But Falcons are on the rise. They just ain't gonna rise up this game.
Nope.
So let's move on. We've got the Washington Commanders heading into Dallas to face the 2-1 Dallas Cowboys. Somehow, the Cowboys have been just fine with Dak Prescott sitting at home and recovering from his injury. Cooper Rush has led them to 2 straight wins now. And Dallas are 3-point favorites in this game. Um, I just think this Dallas team is really, really talented outside of Dak Prescott. Obviously, Dak has the talent to take them to that next level, but that defense looks contender level a caliber. So
Yeah.
I think they're a fun team. Who you got in this matchup?
So I think you brought up Cooper Rush and that they look just fine. It's because they've changed what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're run heavy offense, which is what they should be. Like their offensive line is not what it used to be as far as pass protection, and Dak is not what he used to be.
right.
So to me, with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, you should be out there running the ball most of your snaps, which is what they did this past week against the Giants. And I think it's what they should look to continue to do. Lean on your strength offensively, which is not Cooper Rush.
Right.
Um, and again, no offense to Cooper because he went 21 for 31, had a pretty solid day. Um, again, against the New York Giants. So let's not go crazy and say that there's a QB controversy out there. But yeah, I like this Dallas team. I think that they're still defensively just absolute murderers on that side of the ball. Just like you can kiss any chance you have of being an offense goodbye when you're playing Dallas.
Yes.
Um, so give me the Cowboys over the Commies this week.
I've also got the Cowboys. I don't know what's going on with. I think Washington got really excited from the first 2 weeks of Carson Wentz, and then he turned back into the pumpkin this past week, and
Can we call him Farson Wentz?
and I think
I like
that's only going to continue against this very good Dallas defense. I don't. I guess there's always a chance in the NFL of winning a game, but I don't give the Commanders a good chance this week. I'll give them like a 10% chance that
Yeah.
they get the win.
We'll call him Carson Wentz, Wince. Carson Wentz.
Oh man, let's move on to Detroit.
Let's move on.
We've got the Seattle Seahawks hobbling their way out to Detroit to face the Detroit Lions. For the second time this year, Detroit is favored in a game. They're favored by 4.5 points. 4.5 point favorites over this Seattle Seahawks team. I think that's fair. This is a fun offense to watch. The defense is the big question mark. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm going with the Lions. The Seahawks are really bad. They lost to the Falcons. What more do you need to know? Uh, give me the Lions. There's no reason to belabor this point.
Let's go. I've also got the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I told you way back when we did our preview that by week 5 they will have matched their win total. If they win on Sunday against the Seahawks, they'll be sitting at 2-2, and they get the Brian Hoyer led New England Patriots in week 5, which should be cross fingers, should be a win to get that nice third win of the season and have a winning record for the first time in who knows how long. Good on you, Detroit. I'm excited. Go out, take care of business on Sunday. Take care of business next Sunday. Let's get to 3-2. Let's do it. Moving on, we have Tennessee Titans heading down to Indy to face the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts sit at 3-point favorites currently. I still don't know what to make of this team. They got a win over one of the best teams in football on Sunday because the NFL in 2022 is just craziness. That's what it is. It's nonsense. It makes no sense. Who you got, man?
I'm gonna be honest. I was looking at something else. Say that again. What are we picking?
Titans at the Colts.
Just edit that part out. Just make a note there. Blake wasn't paying attention. Titans at the Colts. Okay.
It's all staying in, man. It's all.
Oh no, don't do that. It makes me look terrible. So this is, you talk about a hard game to pick. These are two teams that it's hard to know what to do with them. I don't know what they've got going on. But I also did say, as long as Frank Reich is the head coach, I'm never going to pick the Colts again. So I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to pick the Titans. Derrick Henry looks to be back.
I don't know about that, man.
I don't know what to do with this Colt. Like, again, I don't know. The one that really gets me is the tie with Houston, because Houston looks bad.
Yeah.
Houston looks bad. The Jaguars, that loss is starting to look more understandable, but
to not score a single point.
Yeah. Shoot.
Then
I don't know, man.
But then you followed up with a win over the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the best. I mean, looked like arguably the best team in football.
Okay, well, the Kansas City Chiefs were without, I think I saw that they were without 6 Pro Bowlers on Sunday. They were without a lot of their team on Sunday. Kansas City was banged up. So, yeah, I think I'm still not buying the Colts. I'm going to stick with what I picked earlier when I wrote it down in my picks. I'm sticking with the Titans.
Well, this is going to be game number 2 that we disagree on. And I don't love it. I don't feel confident picking the Colts. But I've got them because I don't believe in the Titans. I didn't believe in the Titans in the preseason. I don't believe in them now. I think that I don't know what to make of them, but I don't like that they lost to the Giants. I don't like that they got blown out the fashion they got blown out by Buffalo, which, sure, it's Buffalo, but you only scored 7 points out there. You were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year, and you only scored 7 points against Buffalo. They did beat the Raiders, but I'm also off the Raiders now, so that win means nothing to me. And I'm going with the Colts because I think they have more talent, even though they have a terrible head coach.
Terrible head coach. I don't think they can overcome that. Yeah, I don't know, man. Speaking of, I really wish I had started off this whole pick'em section by realizing and pointing out, it needs to be said on the record. This is the first time since we've started this podcast that I've been ahead of you in total picks. We were tied going into last week, and we disagreed on 2 games, and I got them both right.
Well, that's
so
because
I lead you.
That's because this is a nonsense year. Nothing makes sense right now.
No. You don't even say that because you laughed at me.
I am saying that.
You laughed at me for picking the Titans over the Raiders last week, and you were like,
because the Titans should not have won.
They absolutely should have, because the Raiders are not that good. Don't you go trying to defend that pick after you already said in front of God and everybody that you're off the Raiders. No. The Raiders are bad. You know it. The Titans are not bad. So, therefore, Titans better than Raiders. Anyway, regardless, I just needed to be said that I'm beating you by 2 games. I've picked 2 games better than you this year. So, I just wanted it to be out there.
It's because
nope.
It's a crazy year. Where craziness is happening every single week and nothing makes sense and it's just ridiculous. Doesn't count. Null and void on the whole season. Null and void.
I don't think you can do that. You do not have the authority to null and void an entire season of NFL football.
Let's move on to New Jersey, where we got the Chicago Bears coming into town to face the New York Football Giants. I think if anything, we can at least agree that these are the 2 worst 2-1 teams in the league right now.
Yeah. Oh, easy.
The
Easy.
worst
For
2-1
sure.
teams.
Blech.
And craziness, the crazy part of all this, just like the rest of the 2022 NFL season, is one of these teams is going to be 3-1 after this game. One of these two garbage teams is going to be 3-1. Currently, the Giants are 3-point favorites. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we pick in this game. Something crazy is going to happen, and that's just the way it's going to go down. Who you got, man?
I'm gonna stay again going on the record, but I'm not like actually making this my pick. I think this game ends with a tie, just of like badness. They can't do anything. I don't like either of these teams, so I think they're gonna end in a terrible, gross tie. But I guess give me the Giants. I just think that the Giants, I guess, have a quarterback, and I don't like anything about this Bears team. Um, so. Yeah, Justin Fields has the worst passer rating of any QB this season, I think. Sorry, I could be talking out of my butt there, but I'm pretty sure he has the worst
I mean, I'd believe it. He's a bum.
quarterback rating. Yeah, he's terrible. And they don't pass the ball. They just run it all the time. So anyway, this game is going to be terrible if you're a fan of either of these two teams. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry for the false hope that they've given you because they might just lose out other than whoever wins this game. They both might just lose for the rest of the season. So, but give me the Giants. I think the Giants are the better team.
I kind of hope that happens because I don't want. Remember when the Steelers went 11-0 and everybody knew that they were not a good team, but somehow they went 11-0 and they
Yep.
got into the playoffs and the first round of the playoffs got blown out because they're a bad team.
Yep.
That's what I don't want to see happen with one of these teams. I'm not gonna say that one of these teams is gonna go 10-1 or something,
Right.
because they can't go 11-0 because they already have the one loss. But
Yeah.
I don't want to see either one of these teams do that because we all know they're not good. Like they
Frauds.
don't deserve to have the winning record that they have. They've just gotten
No.
lucky with the way the schedule has panned out, and played the right teams at the right times to get those wins. And I don't want to see either one of these teams sneak into the playoffs in a weak NFC where that
Yeah.
could definitely happen with wild cards. And I don't want to
Please
see
don't.
that
No.
because I
Please
want
don't say that.
good competitive football in the playoffs. With all that said, I'm rolling with you. I'm picking the Giants for the same exact reasons, and I'm done talking about these two teams.
Yep. Let's go. Let's keep it rolling.
Moving on to Philly, we've got the 2-1 Jacksonville Jaguars coming to town to take on the undefeated, flying high Philadelphia Eagles. Currently, Philly 6.5-point favorites. That's absolutely fair. They've been blowing out everybody, and they look great doing it. 3-0. Definitely, probably the best team in football. Although now that I've said that, that means they're going to lose on Sunday to the Jags because that's what happens this year. But Jalen Hurts, right there in the thick of MVP conversation.
Right in the thick of it.
It's a very, very good Philly team. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I think this is the week that I really want to see the Jaguars. Like, if I could watch an out of market game, this would be my pick.
Yeah.
I think that I want to see what the Jags really have, because it kind of looks right now like it's not much. I mean, it kind of looks like it could be something, but there's not really any way to know because they haven't played much quality aside from a banged up Chargers team. So. I think that I'm going with the Eagles, but I would love to see the Jags surprise and shock the world, and really put up a fight and make this a tough game. So give me the Eagles, but I would love to see a close game.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I've also got the Eagles, but I think this Jags team could make life difficult for Philly. I think that defense definitely looks solid enough, and I think this week will be the first real test for that defense. And I think the Jags offense is fun. I think there's a lot of good things there, but Philly's defense is looking nasty. So I, I hope it's close. I could also see Philly letting this get way out of control and
That's
and
true.
and, and beating the snot out of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping for a close game. But I'm with you. I've got the Eagles.
Yeah.
Let's go on out to Pittsburgh, just a couple hours away from Philly. We've got the New York Jets flying into Pittsburgh to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Currently, Steelers are 3.5 point favorites. I don't really. I think that's probably fair. I think the Steelers should be favored, absolutely. But I don't think. I don't know what to make of this game. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm going with the Steelers. I don't think that the Jets have one weird fluky onside kick win against the Browns. I think that again, like I said, like 4 times in that sentence, I think it was a fluke. I think that um, that game should not have happened, and the Jets shouldn't have even been in that game.
Hey,
Um,
Fluco's got almost 1,000 yards on the season.
Fluco, I like it. I like it. But it's also because he did have that comeback where he's having to just absolutely chuck the ball. Um, so I think that that's why his stats are a little padded. Is if they don't win that game, technically those are all garbage time. Like it's like, oh, those are just garbage time yards.
True.
Um, if they don't get that 2 point conversion there at the end. Um, so yeah, I've got the Steelers. I think that the Steelers, even without TJ Watt, are a more talented team. I would love to see Kenny Pickett come out and start this game. I heard somebody say this is like the perfect opportunity
Yeah.
it's um because it's like a little mini bye because they played on Thursday and so they have like the 10 days
Yeah.
prep time and it's the Jets. So like if you're talking about the perfect situation to put Kenny Pickett in, it's this one. Like Kenny Pickett, you have a golden opportunity to come in and take this job away from Mitch Trubisky, who
Yeah.
looked lackluster in that game against the Browns. And again, he wasn't bad. He was just not great. So
Yeah.
I think that yeah, I think the Steelers are a better team. Joe Flacco doesn't do it for me. So give me
Yeah.
the Steelers.
I'm also rolling with Pittsburgh. I agree with you. I hadn't really thought about the Pickett narrative.
Yeah.
I've thought since week one that he should be the starter. However, Trubisky looked solid in week one. He has not looked as good the last 2 weeks. Um, but I don't know if Tomlin's ready to turn the reins over to Pickett at this point. I hope that he does. I like Pickett more. I think he's the more talented of the two. Um, Definitely has more upside with Kenny Pickett, and I want to see what he can do with this team because I think this team has a lot of talent. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
give me Pittsburgh.
Yep. Which
So let's go on down to H Town where we have the Los Angeles Chargers heading in to Houston to face the Houston Texans. Currently, the Chargers are 5 point favorites. Definitely warranted. They are the better team. However, they are the more banged up team. That offense is kind of in shambles, and the defense couldn't stop anything on Sunday against the Jaguars. So I ask you, good sir, who you got, man?
honestly, this was my hardest game to pick for this entire week. Um, the Texans were able to tie the Colts. I don't know what to do with that information, right? Like it's like I don't know if that makes them good or bad.
Yeah.
Um, and then but then they looked terrible this week. Who did the Texans play this week?
Um,
We should know that. We just talked about it last week, less than a week ago.
the Bears.
Yeah,
They
they
lost to
lost
the
to the
Bears.
Bears. But I think that you take any NFL team. I don't care who the NFL team is. You take any NFL team, you would take away two of their starting offensive linemen, and you give their quarterback a rib injury. And I think that that's just disastrous. I don't know that there's anything good about this Texans team, But if the Texans are going to win a game this year, this is one with a pretty good shot because the Texans to me are so banged up. They're having to play in Houston. You know, those Texans fans, they can get rowdy. Probably, I don't really know. For some reason, man, I just think that the Chargers have too much going against them in this game. And I'm gonna take the Houston Texans.
Wow. Um. Yeah, I'm not ready to go there. I've got the Chargers. I don't like much of anything about this Texans team. I think there are good pieces, but nothing is cohesive about them right now. Um, I think when you're losing to the Chicago Bears, which I think might be the worst team in football outside of maybe the Seahawks, I that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing
Yeah.
at all. And so while the Chargers are banged up, I think that they should easily get this win against a far inferior opponent.
Yeah.
Give me just a second. I gotta go see what
You're
the
good.
heck my dog is freaking out about.
Go for it. What's going on, YouTube? We take a break from our regularly scheduled podcast to deal with the dog. So what's going on with you guys? Oh, man. Dogs. If only they could speak English, right? It's the only problem. Can't believe. Did I really just pick the Texans? Sounds like a terrible plan.
I mean, oh, all right. I'm back.
Yeah, we just got a couple games.
Genuinely do not know what my dog was freaking out over.
Isn't that every dog all the time? Just
Yes,
freaking out for no reason.
I guess. All right. Let's move on down to Charlotte, where we have the Arizona Cardinals flying their way over to take on the Carolina Panthers. Currently, the Panthers are 1.5 point favorites. These two teams continue to be a big question mark to me. I think that both are more talented than they've shown. I don't like that these two teams are sitting at 1-2. I think they both should be better, but they've had a little bit of a difficult schedule to start the season. Who you got, man?
I just changed my pick. I originally had picked the Panthers, but the Panthers have just been such a disappointment. I think that the Panthers are. I think it's the coach. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know what to put it on.
Oh, I mean, Matt Rule is suspect number one for sure.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that, yeah, if you really look at what these two teams have to offer, I guess I like Kyler Murray more than Baker Mayfield right now. So I guess I'm taking the Panthers, but like neither of these teams are super exciting. The Panthers, they just can't score the ball. That's what's baffling to me is that the Panthers, it just seems like they absolutely cannot put up points for the life of them.
Right.
Um, right now, they points per game wise are um, let's see. They're actually not as low as I thought. They're about middle of the pack, 20 points per game. And right above them, both the Panthers and the Cardinals have scored 20.7 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty hilarious that both of these teams are exactly the same there. Um,
So
I don't know.
who are you going with?
Originally, I had gone with the Panthers just because they were the home team, but I think I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Just something in my gut is telling me the Cards have this one.
Well, this will be game number 3 that we
Oh, man.
disagree on. Listen, I got to make up my ground. I gotta get back, and the only way I'm gonna do that is by disagreeing with you on games. And I'm going with the Panthers. Listen, I don't have a good reason for this. I don't understand either of these teams. As I said, they're both more talented than they've played. The
Yeah.
Panthers, one of those wins for the Giants was over this Panthers team. I just saw that when I was looking back at their schedules. So I don't know what to make of them, but for whatever reason, I'm picking the Panthers to get the win over the Cards on Sunday.
Yeah. That's fair.
So let's move on to Vegas, where we have the Russell Wilson-led Denver Broncos hobbling their way to town. Yes, they got a win on Sunday over the 49ers. However, that was not a pretty win. This team does not look good. While they have gone 2-1, they have not looked good doing it at all. They've looked bad in every area through 3 games so far. However, the Raiders, for as talented as they are and as touted as they were in the media going into the season, have looked straight up awful through 3 games, sitting at 0-3. Josh McDaniels might be a one-and-done candidate out there in Vegas. Currently, though, Vegas are 2.5-point favorites. Who you got, man?
Listen, don't go slandering the Dallas Cowboys. Look at me. The Denver Broncos. They start with the don't go slandering the Denver Broncos and saying they look bad in every aspect of the game because they are the
They
number
don't look-
2. They are the number 2 defense in points per game. So
Yeah,
they're.
but that's because Jimmy G was inept as heck on Sunday night.
I mean, is it just because of that though? Because again, 49ers offense pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, but listen.
Anyway.
Garoppolo looked bad. That was not a case of the Broncos defense playing well as much as it was a case of Garoppolo playing terrible.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I still think that coming into this year, we talked about how good the Broncos defense is. So I don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, all of their success came because they played the 49ers, because that's not right.
Yeah, it's not true. They also got to play Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. And they also got to start their season playing Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. So tell me again how good that defense is.
I'm just telling you what the numbers say, man.
I'm just telling you what it says also.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going with the Broncos on this one. And I'm sure that you are picking your beloved Las Vegas Raiders because, you have them winning 10 games this season. So they got to win sometime. But yeah, I think that the Broncos are a better team. And again, I think that the Broncos, Russell Wilson, this is his first year ever not being under Pete Carroll.
Listen.
So I'm okay giving him some time and saying, hey, he's got to learn the new system. He's got to get comfortable. He's got to get cozy. I'm off of him as my MVP pick, but I think that he is better than what we've seen from him for sure.
I also want to believe in this Broncos team. I like what they have, but it's not looked good. They have scored a grand total through 3 games. This is 3 games. They have scored 43 total points on offense. 43. Actually, I think they've only scored 41 because 2 of their points came off of a safety from Jimmy Garoppolo. So 41 points through 3 games. The Jacksonville Jaguars just about scored that many points against the Chargers defense on Sunday. So I have zero faith in this Russell Wilson led offense, which is terrible because I have Russell Wilson in one of my fantasy leagues, and I was really excited about being able to get him very late in the draft, only for him to be disappointing through 3 games, and I don't know if I'm going to start him on Sunday because I can't trust the guy.
Yep.
Also, don't love the Raiders anymore. I loved them going into the season. I thought that they were going to be great, and they have looked like straight bums. So I don't know who to go with. I have the Raiders over the Broncos currently, and I think just for the sake of it, I'm going to keep that because we need some.
You just want
We
to
need
keep
some.
falling further
Listen,
behind.
I've got to make up the ground. Got to make up the ground, and I'm going Raiders. I don't like it. I don't want to pick them, but it's the world we live in, and I've got to pick somebody. And I don't like either of these teams.
Yeah.
I want to like both of them, but they're not helping me right now. Moving on to Lambeau, we have. I don't know what that was.
That was dramatic. I was like, okay, is he really angry about this?
We have the Brian Hoyer-led New England Patriots coming to town to face the Green Bay Packers. Currently, the Packers are 10-point favorites. I would say that's disrespectful to New England, but New England has looked bad through 3 games, and they're without their star quarterback. I think that he's going to be out for like 6 to 8 weeks, which means that the Patriots season is probably done. But I thought the same thing about the Cowboys, and Cooper Rush has won 2 straight games in a row. Maybe Hoyer can make some magic happen, but I don't think it's starting this week against a pretty solid Packers team that looked really good against the Bucs on Sunday. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers. I think this is a game that it's like we don't even really have to talk about it super much because the Patriots last year it was their defense that it was like, man, but the Patriots don't really have that this year. They don't have that like stellar defense that they can lean on and just let Mac Jones only throw one pass, like
Right.
they can't do that this year. So I think that the Packers absolutely obliterate them this game, regardless of the fact that Sammy Watkins is out and they only have like 3 guys who have ever caught a football ever on their team. So
Yeah, but Romeo Doubs is looking better and better with each week for them. He's a rookie this year, and I wish I could say they had some other guys, but they don't really. They have Alan Lazard and Romeo Doubs, and that's about it. But
yeah,
I still have faith in them. I think that they still have one of the best backfields in the league in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and as long as Aaron Rodgers is upright and playing for them, they've always got a shot in any game they're going to be in. And it's not going to take much to beat this Patriots team. They haven't looked good. So, Green Bay.
There you go.
Moving on to the primetime matchups. Over on NBC Sunday Night Football, we have the Kansas City Chiefs going down to Tampa Bay to face Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Brady continues to look absolutely miserable playing football. He just, like, for everything I said about Jacoby Brissett earlier, about him looking fired up and having that passion for the game, Tom Brady looks the complete opposite through 3 weeks. He looks miserable. What is he doing out there? He should have stayed retired. He should be at home with your wife and kids right now. Currently, Kansas City 2-point favorites. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm going with Kansas City. I don't think I think that this Bucks defense is pretty solid. But I don't. I mean, Tom Brady is average this year. Like looking at the stats and where he falls, in his passing ability this year, Tom Brady does not look good. So I think that this Chiefs defense that looked pretty solid. What was that, 2 weeks ago against the Chargers?
Yeah.
Which they did not look solid against Matt Ryan's Colts.
Yeah.
So, but again, that was a lot of injuries.
Again, nonsense season. Doesn't count. Craziness every week.
I think I'm still going with the Chiefs. I think that this is the beginning of the end for Tom Brady. And I'm gonna keep saying that until I'm right.
I mean, keep preaching, brother. I'm here for it because I agree, and I'm ready for Tom Brady to be done. I've also got Kansas City. I think they're the better team. Although I gotta say that Bucks defense is still solid.
They
Like
are.
they
Yeah.
have not been bad, and it's just that the offense, it's not the same old offense, and I think that's showing itself. So I've got the Chiefs. I think that the Bucks defense has the potential to keep this game close, but I think ultimately Kansas City is the better team, and I think they get the win.
Yeah.
So let's go over to Monday night, where we have the Los Angeles Rams traveling down to, I guess, traveling up to face the San Francisco 49ers. Something about geography. I think that's how it works.
I don't know.
But they're heading
Yeah.
up to face the San Francisco 49ers, coming off a ugly loss to the Denver Broncos. Currently, San Francisco, somehow, this is the other weird line of the week. Somehow, San Francisco are 2.5-point favorites in this game, which I get that the Rams have not looked good, but the Niners also have not looked great. Coming off an ugly loss to the Bears in week 1, and then just looking terrible against the Broncos. I don't know how they're favorited, but who you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, I still believe in this 49ers team. I think that Jimmy G is I think Jimmy G might give him a better chance to win games. I know he did it
Well,
this
I
week,
agree with you on that.
but I think that the Broncos defense is better than a lot of people give them credit for. I like the Broncos defense, and there's not much to like about this Rams team. This Rams team has looked bad. They are a very close Marcus Mariota interception away from being 1-2 to one of those losses being to the Falcons. Um, yeah, I don't see a whole lot to like in this Rams team right now. Matt Stafford looks like he's starting to age. He and Tom Brady both look like the fountain of youth has run out on them, and that they are just kind of phoning it in. Um, and so I think that for that reason, I've got to go with the 49ers on this one.
Oh boy, is this game number 5 that we disagree on?
I've been keeping up. So we disagree on Titans Colts. We disagree on Bills Ravens. We disagree on Chargers Texans. We disagree on Cards Panthers. And Broncos Raiders.
So is this 6?
So this is 6.
Oh
Somebody
man, making up
we
some ground this week. All right.
or 3 will be in your favor and 3 will be in my favor. Like what
Don't
normally
don't
happens.
don't say that. Don't say that. I
That's how
need
it almost
all the help I can get. I've got the Rams. I think they're the better team. I listen. I like this Niners team a lot more with Garoppolo back there over Trey Lance.
Yeah.
That's not to say anything bad about Trey Lance. I still think the kid's talented, but he did not look good to start the season, and he's missing a second full season of playing time.
Yeah,
So
that's tough.
who knows what he's going to look like when he starts year 3 next year. But I like this team a lot more with Garoppolo. However, I think the Rams they just have too much, man. They just have too much. I agree with you that they are looking aged, and that for most of the 3 games, not everything has been clicking, but I think they have one of the better head coaches in the league in Sean McVay. I think that the connection between Stafford and Cup is still something magical, and the defense is good enough with Aaron Donald still out there, Jalen Ramsey still out there. I think they've got enough big time playmakers that this team is going to be okay, and I think they'll get it done against San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, I doubt it. I doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, that brings us to the end of week 4. Thank you for listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and make sure your notifications are turned on. That way you know every Tuesday when we go live. Maybe we'll do some other stuff on the channel at some point. Who knows? We're both 2 busy men with 2 busy lives. So we ain't got time for all that. But we appreciate you listening in any capacity that you are. And as always, I think that's that.
forgot you do the I think. You do the I think that's that. It throws me off.